Hey guys, and welcome back to some more 7-Point Highlander gameplay. Today we're playing a list that I've been having a lot of fun with recently. If you know the 7-Point Highlander podcast, they recently had a guest, Michael B, speaking about walks combo, and that it would be possible to make an 8-point list recurring Orum's chant instead of time walk. Of course, as an enjoyer of bad cards, this greatly appeals, and I started brewing a list. My first instinct was to just play a Black Walks copy with Shocklands and some extra juice like Nadu and Oko. While I did get some wins with this, the broader problem was that you just lose a lot of games because the mana is so bad. I went through some Bant iterations, but ended up on a Jeskai mid-rangey control shell with Archaeomancer replacing the Eternal Witness package. The reason I liked this as opposed to something like Bant Nadu is that the Jeskai shell is not an inherently worse version of a 7-point deck. I've tried a fair bit of an 8-point Nadu list, and it is good and you win a lot because Nadu is busted, but in my experience a major part of the Nadu combo is Gaia's Cradle, without which you lose a lot of one-turn kills. Jeskai we just get to chill behind generically good strategy and cards, and sometimes you get to soft lock them with a bit of cheese. Some notable spice which has not survived to the present day, but will feature in the matches is Soul Herder, which has been surprisingly good as a combo piece, but became Isochron Scepter, and Soulfire Grandmaster, which I was playing at the time as a 2-card combo with Chant, but if we're being real, the card is complete jank. Another notable angle of the list is that we're playing quite a few basics, so we can play Price of Progress mainboard as a cheeky win con, although this was facilitated in large part by the Soulfire Grandmaster, which gave it lifelink, which makes it a lot better as a win con rather than a draw con. The major drawback of Jeskai in my experience has been the fact that Spellseeker can't chain cards to get to an Archaeomancer without green, but Spellseeker just by itself has kind of been an all-star. The fact that you can ephemerate it for 2 more cards, it just gets so much value, and you have so much blink in the deck otherwise, that, I don't know, it's been working out. Anyhow, enough yapping, let's get into the games. Game 1, we were actually up against a 7-point Jeskai list, and we suffer a bit under our basic lands here, and we keep a no blue mana hand, but it's got castables. I decided to force here to protect the 4th Eolingus, as we have just seen them play blue and white lands, so the Monarch is obviously going to be super good. But we do cop a hasty Pyroglyph in our face, which steals back the Monarch. This might have been risky, and I had a few options here, but I decided to lean on the Chant to get us a little bit of tempo with the Monarch, and we managed to grab a blue mana. We knew this Jailer was coming, so we get to just chill and counter on the next turn, and we also 2-for-1 the Pyroglyph, but we do have Monarch, so this is more than okay. Finally, we get to Snappy the Chant for a little bit of extra safety, and Pyroglyph delivers the final blow. Sideboard, we just brought in the Blast for the Evoke Elementals, Daze, and Touch the Spirit Realm, as they seem a bit empty this matchup. Game 2, I bolt the Ragavan, and they sneak in the Ajani. I do get to flip the Tamio, but unfortunately she eats the Prismatic Ending. Here, it was pretty obvious that they were going to have an answer to Pyroglyph, so I think probably would have been better to just try and exile the Ajani and then preordain, but it's hard not to play a 4-drop here. Anyhow, they get us with the Ajani instant flip on the next turn, and Mana Leak the Jailer, and they play another cat, and after another counterspell, we scoop it up. Game 3, maybe in a bit of recency bias here, but I decided to Force of Will the Ajani, just because it's kind of hard to deal with, and we don't really have any sweepers. We get to play the 4th on the following turn. They bounce the token, but they have no pressure, and we get to iteration with Monarch on an empty board, which feels pretty insane. And we hit the Blast for the Teferi. Unfortunately, they get a Steel Cutter, and we could counter the Ponder here with the Misstep, but I chose to just hold it for a Blast, which they seem to always have. And we're rewarded for this on our following turn, and we get to Pyroglyph. And notably here, I could have actually won after they tapped out for the Blast if I just went to the face with the Ephemerate and Enters trigger. But I missed this, but it's okay because we just get to do it on their turn instead. Match 2, we were up against Nadu, which I have been seeing a lot of recently, and I think they're kind of enjoying the natural order package a lot. We do a lot of wheel spinning and digging, but unfortunately we only assemble a Daze and a Misstep, so when they play the One Ring, we kind of just have to hope our Tamio goes off at some point. This was mega dumb. They draw 3 and pass with 7 mana up. For some godforsaken reason, I tapped out to draw with the clue, and they called for 3 in response. We have to Solitude the Nomad in response so that they can't Nadu and just instant win. But then they get to grab Skyclave instead and take out the Tameo, which was all we really had going for us in front of this One Ring. We get to draw 3, but after another One Ring tap and the Eldritch Evolution playing around Daze, we have to scoop it up as we are once again just dead to Nadu. Sideboard, we bring in the Sweepers and Submerge for Daze and Ragavan, which I often find myself siding out in these kind of matchups as there's simply too much meat on the table for it to get through, and honestly, it might not be the best use of points if you don't really have the tempo game plan to back it up. Game 2, after some wheel spinning, our cheeky 4th gets countered, and we know we're going to have to deal with this death rate at some point, but I chose to just hold Solitude here as it's our only instant speed interaction. Our opponent plays a Thrun, which gives me Vietnam-style flashbacks, and we scry a Lightning Bolt on top to take out their Shaman and turn on our Channeler. Our opponent plays an Nadu, but doesn't seem to have the Encore, and here I had 2 choices. I could have played the Solitude on our turn and flickered it with the Soul Herder to take out the birds and the Nadu. I don't know why, but I decided to just hope they would play a non-basic and then nuke us both with the Price of Progress. Yeah, retrospectively was not correct, but I was just feeling really behind with the Thrun beating us to death. Unfortunately or fortunately, they choose to just go to combat without playing a land, so we're forced to play the Solitude, which does actually mean we won't die to our pop due to the lifelink, and after they tap their One Ring, we get to pop in response, and we actually get the win. So a very cheeky end to Game 2, but that's Price of Progress. Game 3 starts dirtily again, and I have the Verdict, so I decided to just play chill, and they play out the Troll once again. I tried to ephemerate the Spellseeker on the block here, but they managed to chord for a Skyclave Apparition on the stack. Realistically, however, this is more than okay, and on our turn we get to play a really clean sweeper. The Oro on their turn does look really scary, but we managed to hit a No More Lies with the iteration, and even though they get back the Thrun, we get to exile the Titan, and they have no cards in hand, so I feel okay just slamming this 4th Eolingus for 4, and it ends up getting us the win. Match 3, we were up against Storm, which frankly we have a lot of dead cardboard against, but Chant is just insane, so that seems pretty good. I decided to Price of Progress main phase here to get a Corey Steelcutter trigger, and although it seems like we are dead for a moment, for whatever reason, our opponent didn't really have any gas, and we get a random Game 1 win. Going to sideboard, this is kind of a hard matchup I find to sideboard against, because I know you're meant to keep in some level of removal for something like a Monastery Mentor, but I just feel like you lose to that like 1 in 10 games. So I pretty much took out everything to bring in anything that could be remotely relevant, like Stony Silence, and we keep a hand on the back of Consign. The Consign actually takes out a Mana Vault here, and I could have played a threat, but I think it was better here to keep them off artifacts in case of Tinker, although retrospectively, if they had a Tinker, they could have cast it last turn if they had have tapped differently. They play a VV and a Duress, which we get to ephemerate for a Misstep in response, which is a line I actually find myself taking quite a bit, and that gets us the win. So there we have it, 3 match wins. Of course, these aren't the most hardcore competitive games or anything, but I do think the deck is genuinely okay. Spellseeker in general, as just a value piece, as I was saying, is really nice, and the broader Jeskai package is realistically what is winning games. Stuff like 4th Eolingus and Flage, they're good cards. In these matchups, we didn't really get to play the softlock on Orums, but the Chant itself seems like a legitimately good card just on its own where we drew it. And like sometimes it's not Time Walk, but sometimes it feels like Time Walk. Anyhow, if you have any thoughts or opinions on the deck, let me know. I'd love to hear them. See ya.